Alright, for today's critical thought, we're returning to the topic of feedback loops. And this time we're going to drill down a little bit further to discuss the positive feedback loop in free-to-play games and how they are designed to get you to spend money and reward those who do so. Now, if you missed our previous critical thought, the feedback loop, when we talk about them in game design, are basically part of the core gameplay loop, in that the player is repeating something and it becomes a form of progression and power for them. When we last spoke about it, we focused on the high-level discussion regarding positive and kind of negative or downward spiral events. As in, with a positive feedback loop, you do something and you're rewarded to be able to do what you just did, but better or faster or with higher numbers. And as we've talked about before, one of the most effective positive feedback loops in a game is the ARPG one of fight monsters to get more loot, to grow more powerful, and repeat. And a feedback loop is an essential part of motivating the player to keep going, because it basically is an endless scale. As long as you're finding more loot or growing in levels or anything like that, the player is making progress. And this has been a core foundation of MMOs, RPGs, and of course the free-to-play genre. And when it comes to free-to-play design, they go with a little bit of a difference when it comes to this feedback loop, and that is with the involvement of money. As we've talked about before with free-to-play games, it is a huge deal to motivate or convince someone to make their first purchase in these games, be it like a small one of the ever popular, limited time only super bundles, or just being able to buy a rare or unique character. And there are economists who are probably, or I'm sure guarantee smarter than I am, who probably have discussed about the importance of that first purchase. Because once you've convinced someone to spend money on a game like this, it gives the game added weight. When you're playing a free-to-play game and there's no money attached to it, you are not held to this game. I have downloaded many free-to-play games on my smartphone over the last month, and the millisecond they annoy me, they're gone. But once you start spending money and there's now weight attached to it, it becomes harder to get rid of that game, because now you're associating a dollar value you've spent. If I've spent, $500, $1,000 or more on a game, I'm more likely to keep playing it than I am to uninstall it and let all that money go to waste. So, getting that first purchase is a very big deal. And when it comes to the free-to-play feedback loop, it's been motivated, or players are conditioned to try to spend that money. And the reason, or one of the big examples of this, has to do with competitive-based play, whether it is real-time or asynchronous. And what we've seen, this has become a very popular example of free-to-play games, is tying rewards and progress to winning. Not to playing the game, because those are two separate points. And you can see this in just about any game that has a PvP aspect, be it CCGs like Gwent and Hearthstone, competitive games like World of Tanks, what I play with South Park Phone Destroyer, and many more. And here's how it works. What these games do is basically a two-prong attack. First is that any kind of daily rewards or consistent rewards can only be earned through winning matches. You can see this in any game that offers daily quests that say, win 5 times as so-and-so. Or with South Park Phone Destroyer, every 4 hours you can earn a PvP pack by winning 3 matches. This is to condition you to associate winning with rewards and get those dopamine levels going. Now, what happens is when you start losing, you're not making any progress, and that's a very big point. Let's say, for instance, I spend 30 minutes playing a game like Clash of Clans or Clash Royale or anything of those games, and it takes, let's say, 3 minutes a match. If I only win 2 matches in that 30-minute period, then technically I have wasted 24 minutes of my time because I didn't earn anything that could be put towards progress. And as we've talked about before, when it comes to grinding games and dead time, which I'm going to be making a specific video on in a little bit, But when the player feels like they're not making progress, the game becomes a chore. And that's what free-to-play designers bank on. They want you to feel those pain points where the game is either annoying or frustrating to play, and then offer the microtransactions as a boon or, the miracle cure for it. Now, the other part of this, and this is where things get very sneaky, is when there are seasons or ladder matches or ladder designs. When we talk about season and ladder play, we're referring to games where you are actually ranked in PvP. And the more you win, the higher you go up in rank. And what developers do is they will tie higher rewards based on whatever rank you reach. And if your game has a seasons play, as in the highest point you reach after X amount of time, usually it's about, I've seen like 30 days, some games may go 60 days. I don't think they go higher than 90 days, but anyone who plays competitive games, please let me know for that one. But at the end of the season, you will receive a massive reward based on whatever ranking you got to. Not only that, but there's also the competitive aspect, because the top players will get globally ranked. And what kind of competitive player doesn't want to be ranked, in the top 10 of the world or number 1 in the world at a game? So this creates a very alluring aspect for competitive-based play, and more importantly, for winning. Because the more you win, the more resources you get. And this is where that first purchase comes into play, and creates this kind of feedback loop. So I spend my money to get my cards, booster packs, resources, you name it. So with those packs, I'm going to become very powerful, which then lets me win a lot easier. By winning a lot easier, I'm going to get more resources, which let me grow more powerful, and we repeat so on and so forth until there are no more numbers or levels or cards in the game. But here's the important point about this. It means that once you start winning, it's very easy for you to keep winning. And you're supplemented by that with more rewards. And this is where a lot of competitive players will get to. And why, when people talk about video games or free-to-play games, and they make a major point to say that none of the tournament level players have spent 1 cent to enter this tournament, I have to call suspect on that. Because it's not about reaching the tournament or being at the tournament and spending money. It's about how much it costs you over the lifetime to get to that point. Like I said, when I was talking about South Park Phone Destroyer, I watched a few pro-level players, those who are in the top 100 rank in the world, and one admitted to spending at least $2,000 on the game. Someone spent about $1,300. And once you make one of those big enough purchases, you are going to not need to spend as much. Because again, the free-to-play feedback loop kicks into gear. And once you start winning, you're going to be getting more and more of those resources, so you're less likely to spend money. However, there's one important point about that. Once other players start spending money, we enter that situation where basically all the sharks are hanging out together trying to beat each other for a top position. And that's where that virtual arms race that we've talked about before comes into play. When everyone is at the same level in terms of skill, then the abstraction of wherever your cards, characters, gear, whatever are at, will determine the victor. And at that point is when the free-to-play developers have you, because they can raise the end cap or the gear cap at any time and create a new arms race. And when we're talking about players at that level of the game, skill is kind of equal among them. There's only so much depth you can have in a CCG or at the high end of the scale, and then it comes down to abstraction and figuring out the best min-max. But if you take two players, top 50 players, give one player a fully leveled up deck or fully leveled character, and someone the starting kit, chances are that fully leveled player is going to win every time, and there's not much the other person can do about it. And that's the big point. Now, another part about this, and it goes back to that old adage of the rich getting richer, is that the players who are great enough or who have spent enough to be routinely at the top of the ladder play, season, or very specific tournament plays, they will get higher or unique rewards that allow them to stay at that point. When I was playing, for instance, Marvel Puzzle Quest for that one odd summer back in the day, the game's PvP system, you will routinely see the same names listed in the top 10 because they would have spent the most money to have the best resources to stay and place there. So they would routinely earn what they put into it back or get more from it, which in turn lets them be better at the next tournament and the next one, and so on. And this is what we were talking about when Activision was patenting that whole matchmaking system to put people who don't spend money next to people who do, because it creates that attraction of the haves and the have-nots. I'm sitting here as, the quote-unquote dregs, with my unleveled character and my low-star army, and here's this person who spent all this money and they're now 5-star with all the legendaries, and they're kicking my butt. So, what's the best option? Go to the store and spend money on those booster packs. And with South Park Film the Story, for instance, they tie the PvP quality of those packs to your ranking. So if you want to have a chance at pulling legendary rank cards in that game, you need to place or you need to be at a high enough rank in the PvP. But if you're not winning those matches consistently or you're dropping down, you're never going to get those never going to get those legendary cards for free, and your only option will be to spend money at the store. And again, it's this endless cycle, and why this free-to-play feedback loop is so effective. Because they're tying, again, progression, competition, and winning all together. So, at this point, the question should be obvious. How do you combat this? And the other obvious point is don't tie purchases to power. But if you have no choice in the matter, there are little things you can do to help to mitigate this. The biggest one is allowing progress, to earn something. I'm not saying to give someone who loses a match the same rewards as a winner, but I should come away in the net positive. Don't force me to sit through a 3-minute match where I have no hope of winning and I earn nothing in return. Give me something. Give me a participation award, something like that, just so I can say that the last 3 minutes, may have moved me from here to here. As a good example, in South Park Film the Story, winning a match lets you open up 3 of those prize PvP lockers, prize lockers. How about for just participating, I open up 1. That's it. The point is, when the player feels like they are making some progress, it allows for them to start to gain some of that headway. They're not going to afford, the super high deluxe legendary pack anytime soon, but maybe they can start to save up for something a little bit more within their budget, and at least start to see, light at the end of the tunnel. Because when rewards or when winning is the only way to progress, it creates a very strong pay-to-win atmosphere. So with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. For those of you watching, can you think of any other suggestions to help combat the free-to-play feedback loop? Let me know in the comments below, but otherwise, check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And if you'd like to suggest that topic for a future video, let me know. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/gwbicer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.